What happens when a country places its entire future in the hands of one company? In Taiwan, TSMC, the world's leading semiconductor producer, controls more than 90% of the global supply of advanced chips. But what if the very success that built Taiwan's economy becomes the source of its downfall? As Taiwan faces growing threats from both the US and China, the question remains, can Taiwan's economy survive if the foundation it's built on crumbles? Let's explore the shocking reality of Taiwan's dependence on TSMC and the dangerous future it faces. Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, or TSMC, is more than just a corporation. It is the lifeblood of Taiwan's economy. This one company produces over 90% of the world's most advanced semiconductors, making it the undisputed leader in the global chip industry. TSMC's chips power everything from smartphones to artificial intelligence technologies, making it an essential player in the digital age. For Taiwan, TSMC's dominance isn't just a point of pride. It's the foundation of its economic power. In 2021, TSMC accounted for 5.7% of Taiwan's GDP, a staggering number that highlights just how critical this single company is to the nation's financial stability. More than 10% of all Taiwanese exports come directly from TSMC, with semiconductors and electronics making up an overwhelming 57.5% of the country's total production in 2023. In comparison, South Korea's semiconductor production stands at only 23%, which shows just how reliant Taiwan has become on its semiconductor industry. TSMC's performance is nothing short of extraordinary. In recent years, the company's revenues surged by 33.9%, and its profits increased by an impressive 43.6%. With a return on investment like this, it's no surprise that TSMC's success has catapulted Taiwan into the global economic spotlight. But there's a hidden danger behind this meteoric rise. TSMC's success has made Taiwan's entire economy vulnerable. Because when TSMC's fortunes fluctuate, so too does the entire country's financial stability. What happens when a company's success is tied to the fate of an entire nation? Taiwan is now caught in a precarious balancing act, where TSMC's performance determines not only the stock market, but also the livelihood of millions of citizens. The question looms, is Taiwan's economy too reliant on one industry? Taiwan's semiconductor dominance has attracted the attention of the United States, but not in the way Taiwan might hope. America, the world's technological powerhouse, is keen on gaining control over the semiconductor technologies that have allowed Taiwan to thrive. In a bold move, former President Trump announced that TSMC would invest a staggering $100 billion to build semiconductor factories in the US. This wasn't just a simple factory construction project. It was a part of a broader strategy to secure the future of semiconductor production on American soil. But this plan raises a troubling question. If America builds its own semiconductor production infrastructure, will Taiwan's monopoly on cutting-edge technology crumble? The US isn't just looking to build factories. It's eyeing the entire semiconductor ecosystem design, manufacturing, and research, intending to bring Taiwan's most advanced technologies to its own shores. By the early 2030s, the latest innovations in semiconductor manufacturing, such as the ultra-advanced 3nm chips currently exclusive to TSMC, could be produced in the US. The world's largest chip producer would no longer be solely Taiwanese. The shift of TSMC's cutting-edge technologies to the US could open up new challenges for Taiwan's dominance, a move that may weaken its position on the global stage. Can Taiwan afford to let go of its most valuable asset? If the US secures TSMC's most advanced technologies, Taiwan could face a future where its once untouchable position in the semiconductor industry is no longer guaranteed. What happens when a nation's most prized technology is no longer its own? While Taiwan is grappling with American ambitions, it also faces a rapidly growing threat from China. China, once far behind in semiconductor production, is now accelerating its own efforts to dominate the global chip market. With a jaw-dropping investment of $140 billion, China has set its sights on reducing its reliance on Taiwan's semiconductor industry. The nation is pouring resources into building its own semiconductor infrastructure, working to close the gap that once separated it from industry leaders like TSMC. Although China's semiconductor technology still lags behind Taiwan's, the gap is rapidly narrowing. As China builds up its capabilities, it presents an existential threat to Taiwan. China already produces 12% of the world's semiconductors, and its aggressive expansion could soon allow it to surpass Taiwan and South Korea. In a worst-case scenario, if Taiwan's semiconductor dominance falters or is undermined, China could swiftly move to become the top semiconductor producer globally. Could Taiwan be replaced as the world's semiconductor powerhouse? With China's massive investments and strategic vision, the semiconductor competition is no longer just about technology. It's about global economic and political power. Taiwan's vulnerability grows as China's chip capabilities improve, and with Taiwan's reliance on semiconductors, the stakes are incredibly high. If China overtakes Taiwan in this crucial sector, what does that mean for Taiwan's future in a global economy? Amid the growing economic and geopolitical pressures, another crisis is quietly unfolding within Taiwan, the exodus of its brightest minds. As Taiwan remains locked in a fierce battle with global superpowers, its younger generation faces a grim future. With the country's future heavily reliant on TSMC, many young people see limited opportunities outside the semiconductor industry. For those unable to secure a position at TSMC, finding a stable and well-paying job is nearly impossible. The situation has reached a tipping point. Taiwan's youth, frustrated by stagnant wages and limited career paths, are leaving in droves for better prospects abroad. This brain drain is compounded by Taiwan's soaring cost of living, especially in major cities like Taipei, where the cost of housing rivals that of Seoul, yet wages remain stagnant. The dream of homeownership is slipping away for many young Taiwanese, further fueling the sense of hopelessness. How long can Taiwan's economy survive if its young talent continues to leave? As TSMC's dominance creates an unsustainable economic structure, Taiwan's future workforce is increasingly leaving, seeking opportunities in countries where wages are higher and the prospects seem brighter. The hollowing out of Taiwan's talent pool presents a grave threat to the nation's future, as the next generation of innovators, leaders, and workers takes their skills and hopes elsewhere. What happens when a country loses the very people who could shape its future? The consequences of Taiwan's over-reliance on the semiconductor industry extend beyond the immediate financial risks. They are deeply ingrained in the country's social and economic fabric. As Taiwan becomes increasingly dependent on TSMC's success, it risks neglecting other industries that could provide a cushion in times of economic downturn. Once a leader in electronics manufacturing and computer assembly, Taiwan now finds itself with few other globally competitive sectors outside of semiconductors. This imbalance leaves Taiwan vulnerable to external shocks. If the semiconductor market faces a decline, Taiwan has little to fall back on. Unlike countries with diverse economies, Taiwan's lack of a robust alternative industry means that the collapse of TSMC or any significant downturn in the semiconductor sector could send shockwaves throughout the entire nation. The nation's economic stability is tied to the whims of the global semiconductor market, leaving Taiwan vulnerable to global economic shifts and technological disruptions. What happens when a country places all its bets on a single industry? The growing dependence on semiconductors has made Taiwan's economy incredibly fragile. And with little diversification, the risks of economic collapse become much more pronounced. When TSMC faces challenges, so too does the future of Taiwan's economy. Can Taiwan continue to thrive when its fate is so closely tied to a single sector that is subject to the volatility of international markets? The question that now hangs over Taiwan is whether it can break free from its dangerous overdependence on semiconductors and build a more resilient and diversified economy. The answer is not simple, but it begins with acknowledging the risks that come with relying too heavily on one industry. Taiwan must invest in developing new technologies and industries to ensure that its future does not hinge solely on TSMC's success. One potential solution is to focus on nurturing other sectors of the economy, such as green energy, biotechnology, and artificial intelligence. These industries, while not as immediately lucrative as semiconductors, offer long-term potential to diversify Taiwan's economic base. Taiwan's government could incentivize innovation in these fields by providing support to startups and attracting foreign investment, ensuring that the economy is no longer so reliant on a single volatile industry. Can Taiwan reinvent itself and secure a balanced future? The challenge for Taiwan is clear. Diversify its economy and reduce its dependence on semiconductors. But with the global semiconductor industry becoming more competitive by the day, can Taiwan pivot fast enough to avoid the looming risks that come with relying on one technology for so long? The path forward will require bold moves, innovation, and a shift in national priorities. Taiwan's future will depend on whether it can adapt to the changing global landscape before it's too late. Taiwan's experience offers valuable lessons for the rest of the world. The success that once propelled it to the forefront of the global semiconductor industry has become its greatest vulnerability. By putting all its eggs in a semiconductor basket, Taiwan has left itself open to the devastating risks of technological shifts, geopolitical tensions, and a shrinking talent pool. The fundamental lesson here is clear. No matter how powerful a monopoly may seem, it can never be the foundation of long-term prosperity. Taiwan's reliance on TSMC is a cautionary tale about the dangers of putting too much faith in one industry. It is a reminder that the most successful economies are those that are adaptable, diverse, and capable of evolving with the times. What can Taiwan and other nations learn from this? The story of Taiwan's rise and potential fall is a stark warning. To maintain economic stability, countries must strike a balance between fostering technological excellence and ensuring economic diversity. Taiwan now faces the daunting task of reinventing its economy to avoid becoming a cautionary tale of success gone wrong. As Taiwan stands at a crossroads, it must decide whether it will continue down the path of semiconductor dependence or seize the opportunity to diversify and build a more resilient future. The clock is ticking, and the stakes couldn't be higher.